I'm gonna go off. I'm just gonna say it's 3:23 in the morning. I just got home from watching the new It movie. I had to shower, and I'm doing this review in my boxers and a t-shirt. Let's review it. The new It movie is directed by Andy Muschietti. Biscotti? Spaghetti. Muschietti. We're just gonna assume it's something along the lines of Andy M. We're gonna call him Andy M. It's directed by Andy M. And it's a remake of the miniseries from the 90s of the same title, It. Now, before I start the official review, I should start off by saying a little bit about me in horror in general. I, up until recently, have had a pretty strong hatred for the horror genre. It didn't really scare me, and they all seemed really repetitive. You know, like they all had to do with a supernatural thing of like demons and ghosts or floating things, and if they weren't those, then they were just a gore fest. And they all kind of seemed like the same plot to me, and I was just kind of like, yeah. I mean, you have the classics, which are scary, but I mean, up until recently when I'm seeing them for the first time, they're just kind of not that scary. They're not bad movies, but they're not that scary. And then I started watching movies like The Conjuring 2, and the most recent Annabelle movie. And then I realized you can actually have a good horror movie. It doesn't have to be cheap and jump scares everywhere. There's a way to have a good story, good movie, with some pretty scary elements in it. Now, because I'm not really a horror person, and I skip over a lot of horror movies because they're all the same, I haven't really been into the scares. So up until these recent movies I just listed, I hadn't been scared. But when I saw those movies, I am the biggest wimp when it comes to horror movies. If you've watched one of those movies with me, I shriek, I jump, I hide behind my hands. I'm that guy. I'm a coward when it comes to good horror. That being said, let's get into It. One of the few horror movies I did see when I was a kid was the 1990s miniseries, It. I loved the miniseries so much, up until it got to the adults. Then, from then on, it was really boring and, I don't know. When it was the kids and the clown, Pennywise, it was awesome. A few years later, when I would first go into public school, and I went to the library more, I would start to read more books, because I didn't have that many friends, and one of them was Stephen King's It. It was my first book, over 1,000 pages, and I was pretty proud of myself. And I fell in love with the book. So when they announced that there was going to be a new It movie, and it was going to be a remake done by Warner Brothers, I kind of went, because of my passion for this one tiny piece of horror that I enjoy. It was the one that I actually enjoyed, and they were going to remake it, and remakes were horrible at the time of this announcement, so I was like, you know? And then they released that first image of Pennywise the Clown, and it started to grow on me. And then the first trailer comes, And then I start to get really hyped. And then that second trailer, which blew everyone away. Oh my god. Could this be a really good horror movie? As well as a faithful adaptation to Stephen King's novel? I can now answer those questions. I love this movie so much. From the very beginning titles to the very end, it has me hooked. It gets right off the bat as far as story goes. You meet Pennywise, you meet Georgie, and it's epic. You know, let's talk about the kids of the movie. Normally, kids in movies are just kind of there, you know? They're just kind of there. There are only a few movies where I actually enjoy watching kids. And a Netflix show called Stranger Things, probably never heard of it. And it's very hard to get kids that are fun to watch and are still portraying real life kids, you know? These kids freaking nailed it in this movie. Oh my gosh. These kids can act. I can believe everything. Because this movie focuses on the kids. The clown is an element of the movie, but it's really a giant kind of character study of the kids and what they're facing with the movie. And you fall in love with them, and you want them to win, you know? They're just very, very believable, and they added so much to the movie. And it's not just the acting, it's also just because of how well written they were. These writers, Chase Palmer and Cary Fukunaga, these writers, awesome. These kids reading the lines that these writers have written sells it even more. As far as the story goes, it's pretty faithful to the novel for the most part. Obviously, there are going to be like little tweaks and things, but like there's a lot of good story in this, you know? The story follows these kids who call themselves the Losers Club. And one by one, they start to take notice of all the kids going missing, and then they start to see weird things happening to them. I don't want to go into too much detail about the story and the things that they see and the experiences they have because it's unique. I'll say that. It really makes you go, oh my god. That was me most of the movie. I can't really talk about... There's so much I don't want to give away, but I want to give a review of like what it's like after watching the movie, because it's like... Now let's get to the part of the video that most of you have probably been waiting for. Pennywise the Dancing Clown. Bill Skarsgård is incredible, phenomenal with this clown. I was very skeptical when they casted him. This dude kills it. I don't know if this is an overreaction or not, but if he were to at the least just be nominated for an Oscar, I'd be happy. I'd be so happy. You really, when watching this movie, do not believe him as some guy wearing clown makeup and trying to be scary. As a matter of fact, you don't even believe it as the clown. You actually watch it thinking it is it. The shape-shifting it thing. The it, you know? And it is terrifying. He's not in it a lot. Not as the clown. It is in it throughout the whole film. But, I mean, it shapeshifts. Its favorite form, however, is the clown. But those moments when it is on screen, I was clenching onto my armchairs, pressing my feet against the seat in front of me because I'm watching it with employees and the theater is pretty much empty. I can do what I want. I'm pressing against the seat. I'm on the edge. I'm gripping the arms because I'm like, oh my gosh. And just when you think that they've reached it, they take it a step further with what they're doing with this clown. Like, you see something and it's like, oh, I didn't think they would do that. They take what you think they wouldn't do a step further, and it's like, I really, really didn't think they were going to do that. There's one scene in particular. Don't worry, I'm not saying what the scene is, how it goes out. I'm just saying my reaction to it. There's one scene in particular which made me cry. It's embarrassing to say. Like I said earlier, I don't do well with well-executed horror. There's one moment in this film where it got me so freaking good, I was crying. The adrenaline, my heart was racing. I started to cry because just how well this clown, it, was. You'll probably know the scene I'm talking about when you see the movie, but oh boy, does it get me. It got me. Overall, it's a really fun movie to watch. It's a story of, it has heart, it's got adventure, it's got likable characters, it's got characters that you can hate along with the likable characters, and it still has its scares. If I had to put how I feel about the movie on a number scale, 1 to 10, I'm going to say a 9.5. There are obviously things I would have done maybe a little differently, but I couldn't be happier with how this one turned out. And I am so, so excited for Warner Brothers to greenlight the next film so it can start focusing on the adults. Thank you guys very much for watching. This is my first time doing a review. I don't know if I'm good at it, so please let me know if you would like to see more reviews and what I can do to improve these reviews and how they're done. I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. But yeah, please go see the movie It. Worth your money, worth your time. I'm Jake and Shaw. Al on Z.